Hello, my name is Randy Mendoza. I'm born and raised from Santa Paula, California. I attended Barbara Webster between the years, I believe, of 2001 or 2002 up until 2006 or 2007. Barbara Webster played a big role in my development, in my education. One of my favorite teachers is Mrs. Posadas. She played a big role in my education. It's one of my favorite classes of all time. One of my favorite memories is just coming to school with my cousins. I'm big on family. It's my cousins Jesse, Jasmine, and Alyssa. We'd all get here together and leave together. That's special to me because I've always said that, family is my strength and through them I rise. So having a tight-knit family is very important to me. Another memory would be playing soccer here at this field. It impacted me for my role in soccer later in life. I'm very thankful, to have been exposed to soccer at a young age here. Also playing like kickball, being in Miss Posadas' class, and just being around this environment, this school played a big role in who I am today. Like I said, the culture here. Whenever I look back, I'm always thankful to be from Barbara Webster, to have attended here, because it's the foundation of who you are. Kindergarten through 5th grade, it essentially makes you who you are, teaches you responsibility. Apart from being able to take orders from a teacher, being able to do your assignments, and etc. Just like I said, it's the foundation development.
My name is Aldo Luna. I came to the school kindergarten through 5th grade, and my favorite memories from this school was before they took the, what's it called? The monkey bars? Before they took them away, I think someone broke a bone. Okay, a teacher that inspired me at this school when I went was Miss Contreras for 3rd grade, but now Miss Luna after she got married. Same last name as me. Awesome. Because she let me be line leader one day, and she let me make a rule where I could bring a friend up, and that, I don't know, I just liked her class. It was always positive. Okay, friends that I made here, I still talk to some today. One of them actually comes to the internship too, and a couple of them I still talk to at school, more or less. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and we still talk about our memories from here and all our old friends. Barbara Webster shaped how I am today because since I was here all of the years, I went through a lot, not in a negative way, but it was still awesome, good and bad. I made a lot of friends I still talk to, more or less. Now I'm in high school in the HSA Human Services Academy, and I'm back here at Barbara Webster to help all the students. And right now I'm with 6th graders, sometimes lower grades for Aspire.
Okay, hello. My name is Edward Martinez. I'm 54 years old, born and raised here in Santa Paula, born at the hospital right here up the street, and talk about the 100th year here at Barbara Webster. From 81 to 83, I was a student here and had one of but the best teachers, and later on she became a principal by the name of Mrs. Nora Byram. And to this day, she is one of my best friends, and I have a lot of friends. I also worked with the school district from the end of '86 to 2021. I was here at Barbara Webster from 2003 to 2021. I loved it. The kids were excellent here, and the staff members. Also, I made a couple of good friends here when I was working. First one is Luis the Beast Perez. We worked 11 years here together. He became one of my best friends. My other good friend, Mr. Gabriel Mo Barreto, and he is a very good man. He was a custodian, now he's a custodial supervisor. Mr. Ray Frutos, which I love. I got to learn a lot from him. All my work ethic was, as a custodian, was 93, 94, 95 at Isabel School, the junior high. I seen a lot of stuff here in our school district time. Our current principal here at this time, I think he's going on 11 years. I am not really sure, but he's our longest principal in our school district.
A teacher that inspired me during my time here at Barbara Webster was Mrs. Marquez. So she was my first grade teacher. She was truly someone special. So, you know, my parents had no idea how the school systems worked here in the U.S. You know, we had just arrived here in the U.S. maybe, you know, like 3 to 4 years prior to me starting kindergarten. And so they had no idea how any of the systems worked. They had no idea what they were doing. They just knew they had to bring me to school. And Mrs. Marquez recognized something great in me. And she knew exactly how my brain clicked. She knew exactly how, you know, I liked to work, what I didn't like to do, and how to keep me interested in any subject, and how to keep me engaged. And she took extra time to keep me involved, keep my parents involved, and more than anything, explain everything to them. She would call them in and explain, you know, how each grade level worked, what was next, you know, after elementary school, what could they expect, and, you know, every step in the future. So she made something that could be very scary for some parents, at least palpable to my parents. And I think she really, really, really changed the impact of my education. Well, something that's really special to me that I looked forward to every year was the drill team season with Mrs. ABC. You know, she's a gem for the school, for the community, you know, just someone really special to be around and to have grown up around. That drill team, you know, looking back, it was something that was just fun to do. But truly, it taught us discipline. It taught us structure. It taught us camaraderie. Maybe at the time, we just saw it as an after-school activity where we got to hang out with our friends, wear cool dresses, be in parades. But, you know, she kept us organized. She taught us all these routines that we had to learn on short notice. We had to match it to all the tempos and the songs. And, you know, she had the secret sauce and she knew what she was doing with it. And, you know, those of us that really took that into mind, you know, we got so much more out of it. And I'm truly thankful for that. Yeah, during my time at Barbara Webster, you know, there are so many people that come in and out of your lives. You know, you think about kindergarten through 5th grade, your classrooms are full and, you know, there's all these people. And, you know, now, how many of them can you really keep in touch with? But I'm very fortunate that I still have some of those classmates in my life. You know, I have my friend Marisela Ortiz, who now she is a school psychologist helping kids. You know, I have my friend Angie Gutierrez, who's doing great things in the political atmosphere. You know, it's impressive to think that these kids that were just sitting crisscross applesauce in these kindergarten classrooms are now doing all these amazing things out in the world. During my time at Barbara Webster, I lived right across the street from the school on 11th Street, giving me easy access to what used to be the garden that led right up to Dr. Lang's science lab. So to me, you know, that was, we can call it, that was my Disneyland. You know, I would come in before school started, come in through the gate. Sometimes Dr. Lang would leave it open for me. knowing that I would just love to come in. I would hang out with the plants and, you know, just get my hands dirty, then go into the lab and just hang out with him, see what was going on in there. Never spend time with the pet snake because I've always was deadly afraid of it, but just kind of take a peek through the side of my eye. But, you know, just really taking in the environment and taking in his wisdom. You know, it wasn't until later in life that I realized how fortunate we were to have a real scientist on our campus, and not everybody had that access. And, you know, I feel like Barbara Webster gave us all these opportunities that not everybody had in their elementary schools. And it allowed me to, even as an adult, make all of these career choices that I kept going back to my younger self of like, oh, well, you know, Dr. Lang was a scientist and he did all of this. And I had him as a reference to go back to. So, you know, and it was all because I lived across the street and I was able to just walk in through that gate to the garden.
So back in the day, a long time ago, you know, it's not like I had one specific memory. I think it was a combination of things, you know, coming out here and being part of things that I never experienced as a kid at home, you know, opening our mind to different things, getting out here and playing sports, and being part of assemblies and events where you sing, and then maybe some of the field trips that we would take. Those for me were eye-opening, and things that we didn't do at home. And so those for me were things that kind of stood out to me back in the day. And I'm sure there was a lot of little moments here and there that I'm like, oh, okay, that was great. But to me, I remember a lot of that over a period of time. And I think those were very, very cool things here, part of Barbara Webster. Okay, so a teacher that inspired me, I think back in the 4th grade, Miss Lundeen. She was a person that was very caring, very supportive, and always made you feel welcome. Sometimes as a student you struggle academically, or you're having a bad day, or coming home upset, coming from the house to school upset. She'd be one of those teachers that would say, "Hey, Lalo, come on in. You're going to be okay. You got this." And throughout the day, she was that type of person. She was never mean to us, and not one single moment did I think that she was going to be upset at us. And as students, we love being in her classroom. Another one, really quick, Miss Spraggins in the 5th grade, very different but very motivating. She always said, I want you to focus on things that you were good at, and I'm going to help you become even better in those areas. Maybe you're not going to be really good here. I'll help you through that. But doing some of the things that you're already good at, you're going to be great at, and just know that. And if you struggle with the other things, just focus on these things, and you're going to be great. So fantastic. When I was younger, there's a lot of students back in the day that are standing out because we're still friends, because we met here. The beauty about coming to this school was that you come from a house where your circle is very small, and all you know is your family. You come out here, now all of a sudden you get to meet new people, not just students and teachers. And those kids that you get to know at that time just open up your mind in terms of relationships, in terms of connectivity, and in terms of learning how to deal with people. But I have a lot of friends that I still communicate with that came to school here, And in terms of an employee, everybody here has been great. I mean, there's a lot of teachers. I mean, I could probably name every single one. I've had the opportunity to work with them, but also I've been very lucky to be very, I guess, what's the word? Very not just open with them, but I've had the opportunity to connect with every single one, and that's been a blessing for me. I don't have the accurate number, but it might have been like 10 years ago. I came in as an outreach consultant, and I came from Glen City. I was transferred to this school, and I spent maybe 2 or 3 years, and then the opportunity to do the PE program as a PE specialist was there, and I took it. And so over the last 7, 8 years, I've been part of the PE program, and it's been a great position for me because I get to know every single student on this campus. I get to communicate with every single staff member on this campus. And having that position, I felt like I was able to help in whatever small way, every single student, whether it was physically or emotionally, I was able to connect with all these kids. So that was one of the things I look forward to every single time I came in here. I just think the community that this school where we are, how it brings everybody together, and the staff members that are here, I think they all care about the kids, and because of that, I think that culture that we have at this school, it's a pretty special one, because I don't see this school as a behavior problems school. I look forward to coming to school every single day, and I never thought that we were going to have any issues, but the community and the culture that was in place because of all the people that cared, that's I think that's something special.
As a student, my favorite memory that I can think of is my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Harden. He was just the most kindest person that I've ever had as a teacher. And there was mostly Mexican kids in this classroom, and he just loved us, and he would take us to little walking field trips. He opened up my eyes to a lot of things, because in the other classrooms, the teacher wasn't so focused on anything, and it was just, this is sit down, this is what you're going to, blah, blah, blah. No, he got us interacting, so we loved him. And the colleagues that I have that were also in his class, they thought the same thing. He was just wonderful. And, so that's one of my favorite memories, him. As an employee, oh my God, there's so many. To me, my favorite memory, I can tell you, and it's probably not really directed as a favorite memory, is the fact that I give all glory and honor to God for whatever I did over the years. And people tell me, and my kids and the parents used to tell me, oh my God, we're so happy to have blah, blah, blah. And I would always say, well, it's because that's what God wants me to do. I'm just his instrument. He's the one who's doing all this stuff. Even when I run into some of my kids, whether in town, at the store or whatever, they'll come up to me and they'll say, oh, teacher, I remember when we used to be able to have films, because all teachers were able to have films, the reel-to-reel big ones. And I would make them popcorn, and I would bring them lemonade, and they never forgot that. Teacher, are we going to have popcorn and lemonade the next time we see a movie? Yes, you are, of course, So that's one of my favorite things, because I knew for a lot of kids from this area, they didn't see movies, they didn't have popcorn, they never been to the beach. That's another thing. We tried to, Mrs. Trujillo. I don't know if you knew Mr. Trujillo. Mrs. Trujillo and I are like this, as well as another colleague, Nora Byram. who was a teacher here. And we became very good friends, and to this day we still get together once a month. It's been about 30 years now that we get together, because I retired first, of course, and then Mrs. Byron, because she became administration instead of being in the classroom. She was an administrator. They made her principal at Graysdale, and then she was principal at Isbell Middle School. And so, you know, we just love each other because we all had the same kids, you know. So that's one of my wonderful memories that I have of my colleagues here. I was inspired by Mr. Harden, and also by the first time when I came to start getting my room ready the first year, and my principal at that time was Mr. Bravo, and he says, Angela, I'm going to take you to a teacher here that I want to be your mentor. And you know, he's been here a long time, so he knows how things are run, and he's an excellent teacher. Okay, so it was in the first room that I ever was teaching, in room 9. Well, it's the first one, it used to be the first one. And anyway, so he introduced me to Mr. Webster. Mr. Webster was already on his way to retirement, you know, in a couple of years. And he was just a wonderful man. He used to wear a suit every day, you know, old school, and he was in the 70s, late 70s, and I remember him because he was bald right here, but he had gray hair all around here. And what sticks most in my mind is I would see him when I was in 4th grade or you know, in 5th grade, and he would, the last week of school, the last day, he would have lots of watermelons out there, and that's what the kids, that's how he treated the kids. He had watermelon party for them, you know, and he was a good man, and I'll never forget him. And so that's one of my memories that I have about my colleagues, you know. And a lot of the people that I worked with, you know, one of them was Mr. Boggs, Ben Boggs, okay, and he used to work in one of these classrooms here. And anyway, it so happened that he was bilingual, and his wife was Mexican-American, and she was very bilingual, of course. So when he was absent, she would come and substitute in his room, you know, and she was very nice, she was very funny. And anyway, so they lived in Ojai. So a while back, last year, I had to go to I had a cataract, so I had to go to a specialist in Ventura where my eye doctor sent me. And anyway, so one of the first doctors that I saw, I went into the room, and you know, I looked at him and I said, oh, hello. We did a little bit of conversing, and then I noticed his name, his last name. He had a name tag, and I didn't want to say anything while he was examining me. So as I walked out, was walking out, I said, excuse me, Dr. Boggs, is your dad named Ben Boggs? Yes, that's my dad. And you're from Barbara Webster, aren't you? I said, yes. Well, I know, because that's where he taught. You know, if you remember him, that's why I remember you. And you know, so that was really nice to know that I would have somebody that knows that I knew their parent, and I worked with them and everything, because a lot of teachers came and went through here, you know. And so that's one of the things that I remember also. Okay, Barbara Webster School did change my life. You know, first of all, because my husband came here too, and we went to all the schools together, and we ended up getting married. You know, but that was after I had already left. I finished my college, and I came back. It shaped me because of kids, because I love kids so much. And I've always told, you know, when my former students would come back that were interested in becoming a teacher, what should I do or not do to be a good teacher? I said, mijo or mija, I said, first of all, you have to love kids. If you don't love kids, you're not going to have the patience to work with them when they're good or when they're misbehaving. But also you have to have a lot of patience, you know, because without patience, it's very difficult to try to be crowd control, you know. So that's what I always thought that was what was making a good teacher, and that's what I tried to do my best with my students, you know, to love them and to be patient with them. And, you know, some of the kids were so shy, or you know, they just didn't have the confidence to speak up or anything, and those are the ones that I would focus on sometimes, you know, because I wanted them to, what's the word now, the coin word, not interactive, but engage. Yeah, engage. And so, you know, that's one of the things that I really worked hard at, trying to get my students to speak up for themselves, you know. Two things. First of all, there's two things that I remember and I treasure because I always talk about them to other people. I started a drill team here. when we have a Christmas program, all right? I mean, a Christmas parade every year. And one year, early on in my career, it must have been about 1975, there was one of the schools, and there was a lot of little girls dressed in little shorts and had pom-poms. And I looked and I said, I can do that. I can do that. Why should just one school have a drill team? I can make one here at Barbara Webster School. And so I did. I started at that time we had 6th, 5th, and 4th graders only. So anybody who wanted to join, they had to be in one of those grades, right? And I remember the first year that I started, I had about 60 girls come in my classroom because they wanted to join. And I already had the paperwork for their parents. If they were interested, could they please give them permission? And so I did that for 25 years. Yep, and I had so much support from parents, the mothers especially, because they would help me with crowd control or when the child needed to go to the restroom, and all that. So it was a wonderful time. And this is where we would march to practice before a parade. We'd start way over there by the building on 12, come this way and come down, and then we'd march back. And at one time, there was the band used to practice after school. And there was a young man who used to do the drums, and one time he came out when we were marching, and then the girls really, oh man, and they started marching to the beat of the drum, and so I was so excited, and he was a wonderful young man, Underwood. I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Underwood. And I said, hey, mijo, do you think that you'd be able to play the drums for us once in a while in a parade? He said, oh, maybe I can. I'd have to ask my parents, And I said, well, if they think they could let me know, and then I'll talk to your parents. And they let him march one time, but, in the parade. But he was the only one, and he got tired with the drums, But anyway, so it was a wonderful 25 years. During that time, I was able to, at that time, it was not an act of Congress to get permission to get a bus to go somewhere, right? So I wanted to take him to a big parade where they could see a lot of drill teams, flag girls and everything. Get this, I got permission to take him to the Hollywood Christmas Parade. Can you imagine? And it got dark during that, like it's going to start getting dark early. And so we went and we found a big old where the buses were parked, and I took all the girls. I had a lot of adults that helped because that's a lot of girls to take. I had about the 60 girls that were marching, and our parades. And so we sat there for 3 hours and watched the parade, and the girls could not believe, not just the drill teams and the flag girls, but all of the different kinds of marching groups that they had, the bands and everything. And I felt so good because they'd never been to a parade like that, so big, right? And finally, so my drill team, as I continued, I would take them to the parade in Fillmore, and in Piru, and in Oxnard. So, they had a good round of practice and fun and the music, and to this day, my niece who lives in Fillmore, and I talked about her 4 children, she remembers she's already 42, and anytime she hears this particular Christmas song that we used to march to, she starts doing the routine. She does not miss a beat. So she's not the only one. There's a couple of other girls that also crack up because they remember it. So that was a very joyful time for me to have. It was a lot of work, but I really enjoyed doing it,
I'm Teresa Trujillo, or Teresa Gonzalez Trujillo. As a teacher, I taught here for 28 years, and but I was also a student here. I attended here 4th, 5th, and 6th grades. And I remember just just everyone being so warm when we were in school. I remember the year after I left, Angela Borrego Chavez now, she started the drill team, which I ended up coming back and helping as a 7th grade student at Isabel. But those were my years here at Barbara Webster as a student. And as a staff member, I started in 1993 as a 4th grade teacher, because back then it was 4, 5, 6. And we had such a fun time here. were also the science and technology magnet back then. And so we had an amazing science classroom under the direction of Dan Lang. And he, along with Amgen, he was able to bring to the district, because not just to Barbara Webster, he took stuff to the rest of the district as well. But here at Barbara Webster, the students, when they would go to science, they would use their science coats, and they would do all sorts of experiments using beakers and test tubes and what have you. We had live animals, we had stuffed animals like polar bears, and so many different. And the live animals, we had this huge boa that the kids loved to play with. We were in our technology department under the direction of Miss Debbie, we would call her. Our students were amazing. By the time they would go to Isabel School, they were typing anywhere between 60, 75 words a minute. They were, they'd go over there and they would help at Isabel once they left here. And it was broken up to where kinder, because by then we were now the K-5, and it started with kinder, learning how to type their name, and first grade going on to learn the home keys, and it progressed. And we were able to attend conferences. I went to Florida to represent Barbara Webster School, and that was an international technology back in the day. When technology was just, started, because our kids used to program the computers, and so they would, do different programming skills. And I remember we would go and they would, one of the questions we always received, whether we were in Las Vegas presenting or we were in Florida, how do you teach your students if they speak Spanish? And it's like, easy, you just teach them the word in English. We taught them how to do it, and they did it. And so we had many people that were really amazed at what our elementary students could do when they were in secondary, and couldn't do it, So, our Barbara Webster did amazing things. Oh, going back to science, we used to do science fairs, and we would transform the cafeteria, the outside of the cafeteria, and this hallway, we called it back then the science wing or the sixth grade wing. We would transform it into whatever topic we were doing. So if it was the ocean theme, we did an ocean. We transformed it so you would be walking as if you were under the ocean, or in the ocean. And then our fifth grade, whatever the theme was, would go there. So like when it was the ocean, the fifth grade students went to Monterey Bay Aquarium, and I remember we stayed in the high school in Monterey, in the gym, and the boys, we had them sleep on one side, the boys students, and the girls would sleep on the other side, and all the staff would be in the middle. The staff and parents would be in the middle to make sure we could keep an eye on both of them. When we did the astrology, they went to Astro Camp. So we did some pretty cool things here. Special activities here at Barbara Webster, or traditions. I know that we had the dance group. I taught folklorico for the 28 years that I was here, and we also had the drill team under the direction of Miss Angela Borrego Chavez, or Mrs. ABC as she was lovingly known. We had the soccer team, which was under the direction of Mr. Jose Luis Munoz. And we had a wonderful outreach program under the direction of Mr. Tommy Frutos. So we had a lot of stuff to offer our students here. We had amazing, I was fortunate enough to work under amazing principals as Mr. David Luna, Mr. James Medina, Miss Sima English, to name a few. So I was truly blessed to be here. And one of the things that I miss now that I am retired are the students. And because the students are so good, and they really, they just want to perform, and they want to do what the best that they can do to get ahead. So that's what I really miss about the students.
My name is Raul Trujillo, and I started here in 1997 through 2022. I taught TK, kinder, and first grade during that span of 25 years. There's a lot of memories. A lot of them have to do with working with the kids. I've always had a knack working with the little ones. I wish I could remember the little guy's name, but he was one of my first students, and he finished reading. I mean, he read it clear, perfectly straight through. And he stops and he looks at me and he goes, Mr. Trujillo, I'm reading. And it always gets me, you know. You don't realize when the little guys come in, they're clean slates. And as the teacher, that's what you do. You open up the door to them, whether it's reading, science, math, whatever it is, you're opening up a door to them. And that's always stayed with me. And years later, a different student, I had him in first grade, the same thing. He just so happens to be the valedictorian at the high school. And during his speech, he called out my name. And it's like, I got calls, that night. He goes, Mr. Trujillo, the valedictorian called you out. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, he called your name on his speech. And it was like, wow, I remember him. I mean, I had to stand up for him, because he was a Spanish speaker only. And I said, no, he's going on to the grades. And I had my colleagues there saying, he doesn't speak the language yet. I go, no, that will come with time. But that dude was sharp. So I pushed for him to go forward. And so he always stuck with me. His parents would see him in town, and they saw what I did with him. And they still, to this day, you see the parents, and they still say, welcome you and say hello and stuff. So those are the two strongest memories that I have as a teacher. I mean, there's plenty of them, believe me, plenty of them. But those are the two that stand out. I've had students who come back from the university, and they'll come back, and they say, Mr. Trujillo, you recognize me? And it's like, I mean, these are young men, young women come back, and I guess, sorry, I don't. I've been teaching for so many years. And they come back and they thank me, It's like, I said, I was talking to my dad, I was talking to my mom, and about teachers that had an impression on them, and my name will come up. So I don't know what I was doing with these little guys, but whatever I was doing something right, because for them to come back and, come back and touch me that way. Extracurricular activities, like what they were saying earlier about Mr. Munoz being in charge of the soccer team. When I first came in, I was a player, I was a coach, I'd done it all. And so my first year when I came in, and Mr. Munoz asked me if I can come out and help him, which I did that first year. I came out and I helped him out. And it was funny because in the following year he says, Mr. Trujillo, I've been doing this for a while. You could take over. So I did the soccer program for years to come as well. I was coaching the little guys. Administrators, Mr. Luna. I've been in CPS for 13 years, and I guess after a while I got burned out. And that particular year, I quit. I remember this, Cinco de Mayo, turned in my letter of resignation, and that at the end of the school year, Mr. Luna was at the end of the year party, and conversations. So how's work? And it's like, I'm unemployed. And so he said, oh, would you like to go into teaching? And it's like, I gave it a try, and he gave me the opportunity. No experience, no nothing, but he said, if we can do something here, would you like to come in and teach? And sure enough, he gave me that opportunity, and 25 years later, I was teaching. I mean, I had to do all the coursework and everything, but he was the one that opened the door without none of that being present.
Barbara Webster Elementary in the late 80s was more than just a place for recess. It was a place for childhood friendships, intense marble competitions, the kind of soccer tournaments against other schools that made you feel like you were playing in the World Cup. It was very intense. I was in 4th and 5th grade here, just a kid with a handful of marbles in my pockets all the time, full of excitement every time the recess bell rang. I was one of those kids, right? You know, Mr. Munoz, if you were there, you knew the name. He wasn't just a teacher, he was a coach, a mentor, the kind of adult who made you feel, you know, seen, special. He took the time to create experiences, you know, just beyond the classroom, organizing those unforgettable soccer tournaments that brought us all together. Win or lose, it was about, you know, the camaraderie, the laughter, the joy of playing together. The friendships I made those years, I mean, many of them still, you know, last to this day. There's something special about the bonds formed in the classrooms where you felt safe, you know, encouraged, valued. Barbara Webster, to me, wasn't just a school. It was a foundation, a welcoming, inclusive spirit shaped how I saw the world, you know, and inspired me to follow the path into education myself. I felt a sense of belonging, love for learning, and the knowledge that someone, you know, truly cared. Looking back now, it's clear. Barbara Webster didn't just teach me math or reading. It taught me the importance of community, kindness, the powerful impact that a teacher can have.
So one of my favorite memories is probably coming in here in kindergarten and seeing the snake in the old science lab. I've never seen a snake so big. And it was very intimidating as a kindergartner seeing it, but also other great memories that I have attending here is discovering my passion for sports. I think, you know, at that point is something that I was able to really focus on and really shaped who I was by playing soccer, something that I never imagined, playing basketball, and some of the other great projects that I was a part of, like building the greenhouse and doing other things here at the school. So one of the teachers that really inspired me would be Mrs. Teresa Trujillo in the 3rd grade. Thanks to her, I learned English. It was very pivotal for me, learning that, I want to say, during the second half of the school year. If it wasn't for me picking that up early on, I don't know where my life would be at now by dominating both languages. Not only that, throughout the years, you know, she's been very important in my life, you know, helping always push through, you know, giving me words of encouragement. So every time I see her, you know, it's one of those great things to see. Additionally, you know, other people that I came across here would be Mr. Tommy Frutos. He was also very important in helping me play sports, but also motivating me to do more than I ever imagined. You know, being part of certain projects, like I said earlier, the greenhouse, that was very important, but most importantly, sports. I think that was something very important. And I do want to say that another teacher that I wish I had would have been Mrs. Angela Borrego Chavez, because as a 2nd generation attending here, she was one of the teachers that taught one of my aunts and I think my uncle. And she told me one day that I would be in her class for the 5th grade. That did not happen. So I was pretty bummed, but she got to teach my brother and my cousin. So I do have a lot of friendships now that I still keep in touch with. One of them that I'm very good friends since kindergarten, and we've been through a lot together. And another great, one of my best friends from the 5th grade that, you know, through life, we've reconnected all over again. And, you know, a lot of the friends that I made here coming through, you know, we still keep in touch, we see each other, and we remember all the things that we did, you know, growing up, whether it be playing sports, whether being here in class, you know, something funny happened, or the earthquake from Northridge, you know, that happened. And I remember that being in the 2nd grade, you know, talking about how that impacted us, but also talking about the staff, you know, certain stories like Mr. Robles, who was the noon duty. He would tell us these stories, and I remember seeing him carry a little piece of paper, always put it in the back of his pocket, and we would ask him, and he would tell us it was a random story. And, you know, those are things that we still talk about the good old days. So yeah, I still am very thankful for those friendships. So Webster has shaped me who I am today by instilling great work ethic, by always pushing me to do better. I want to say that if it wasn't for me coming here, you know, and meeting the teachers that have been very dedicated, whether keeping up with me even past being a student here, I would say that, you know, it's one of those things that I don't know how my life would have turned out. I mean, thanks to them, you know, I was able to, you know, get my bachelor's and also get my master's degree somewhere where I never even thought that I would even get to. In my mind, I always thought, well, you know, I'm just gonna get a high school diploma and that's it. I never pictured going to college and even achieving it. And thanks to some of those teachers that I was able to reach back to, you know, I was able to get letters of recommendation, which helped me get into those schools. So I'm very thankful for them. So some of the special events that I remember would be, you know, field day. Growing up, that was something that I always look forward to at the end of the year, getting the ribbons. And then I think in the 5th grade, if I'm not mistaken, I remember the traditional 5th graders versus teachers game. And it was one of those things where we all talked about it all year round and we practiced and we're like, yeah, we're gonna beat, you know, the teachers. And it was one of those things that I enjoyed, and I don't remember if we won or lost. Other than that, you know, it was the friendly taunting. We had a great time, so I really enjoyed that. So another thing that I want to add on is that I'm 2nd generation attending here. As I mentioned before, my aunts and one of my uncles attended here. My brother and my younger cousin also attended here. But now I'm proud to say that my 4-year-old daughter is in TK here and she is now the 3rd generation. And I'm very proud for her to be here. And another quick little tidbit was that my mom was here too as a lunch lady, but she first started as a noon duty supervisor. And probably before that, some of the teachers can probably attest to this, that she would be known as a lady that would bring in ice cream for Dia del Niño or buñuelos for Christmas. And that's how she got into working here. And she since then retired in 2020. So yes, proud to be here. And the fact that my family has been pivotal in being involved with the school one way or another.
Hi, my name is Ronnie Garcia and I'm the night custodian here at Barbara Webster. I attended school here for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. One of my fond memories that I have here coming out to school was my 5th grade field trip. It was a camping trip that we went up to Upper Ojai with Mr. Lang back in the day. My teacher was Miss Smith, and then it was Miss ABC's class was the other 5th grade class that had gone with us. That was one of the memories that I have. It was a good time. It was something that we had never done before because it was like about 60 kids camping at the time, you know. We didn't pitch any tents. We just kind of slept on the floor and looked up at the sky at night, you know. So it was an experience that we had. So a teacher that inspired me was in my 2nd grade class. It was TA back in the day. Her name was Miss Cardenas. I remember her for many years. She passed away some years back, but that's one teacher, TA, that I remember just how she was. She was so sweet. She would help us out a lot with, you know, work and stuff like that when we were in the classroom. But that's one person there that I do remember, and I will always remember her. Okay, friends that I had back in the day, I still talk to a bunch of them. We might not hang out and stuff, but when I get to see them, it's always a pleasure to see them doing good. I remember walking home with them from school, stopping at Gil's Market here and visiting Mr. and Mrs. Castañeda there to get slushies and stuff like that. So I could name one off the bat is Henry Ramirez. He was my best friend at the time for many years. He moved away. No longer lives here in Santa Paula, but that's one person, you know, that I remember. I had Eddie, Gus, Memo, Hector. I could go on, so on Omar. I could go on, and yeah, but those are some good friends that I still, when I see them, I talk to them pretty good still. So yeah, those are some good friendships there. What I could say is Webster. I mean, what I see or what I take from coming to school here and where I am now, it's a sense of pride, you know. As of what I do now, I work for the school, you know, I'm the night custodian. And just having the pride of being a Bobcat when I was at a young age to working here now is just a sense of pride, you know. It's like once a Bobcat, always a Bobcat. So that's something that I take with me, you know, and I love working here. I love the staff, and it just brings back a bunch of memories walking through these halls. The ones that I do remember, like activities that we had, it was called the last day of every school year. It was called Field Day. Mr. Burns back in the days was a counselor here, and he would always put out it was called a field day. So we had different obstacles that we would go ahead and try and do. And he would always keep count of who did the most, and they would give us places, first place, second place, and they would give us little awards with an awards assembly. So that was something that I always look forward to every year, and I think a bunch of the kids that, you know, at that time did also, you know. So that's one of the great memories that I have. What I would like to add is, you know, just it's just a pleasure working here. The staff, everybody has treated me great. We're like a family here, you know. Everybody's just helps each other out. They welcome me here, you know, with open arms and stuff. And I just feel that, you know, just working here and being part of the staff is great. You know, I never thought in a million years that I'd be back here, you know, working for this school, but here I am.
Hello, my name is Tommy Frutos. Born and raised in this amazing Santa Paula community. I attended Barbara Webster in the early 80s in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And some of my favorite memories here were spending time with amazing teachers like Angela Borrego, now Angela Borrego Chavez. I had Mr. Boggs, and in 4th grade, my 4th grade teacher was Mr. Bazacha. That's when I learned a lot about fractions. That's where I learned my multiplications, and I learned a lot about traveling by reading books and stories. That's when I fell in love with the idea of Fiji, because he was very inspired with the idea of traveling to the Pacific Rim and whatnot, and just love spending my time with them. I grew up in a time here at Barbara Webster when breakdancing was happening. So I met a lot of good friends, Sammy Mendoza, Manuel Herrera, Jimmy Jordan, Steven Cervantes, and we all played for one of my favorite coaches probably in the entire world, Eddie Mendoza. We were flag football and basketball champions here at Barbara Webster. We made it to SMAF state championships. We did that several times, and again, all here as a Barbara Webster student. Fast forward, I ended up becoming a staff member. I went to school to become an outreach counselor. I started working here in 1995 all the way through 2011, so 16 glorious years. Again, having the opportunity to work with amazing people like Angela Borrego and Teresa Trujillo and Raul Trujillo, Jerry Burns. Those were just great times because we were all inspired to want to leave a legacy to help our population. Some of my favorite memories were having the Halloween haunted houses. We started what's called Reaching Out Athletics, where we would play against other schools in the community. I would spend a lot of time in our families' homes, helping our families, you know, cope and adjust to making good choices coming to school. That was kind of my role. Another favorite memory was taking kids annually to UCLA football games and UCLA basketball games, all with the idea that our students would go and further their education and make good choices. I remember working with Eddie Vasquez as our DARE officer here. The things we would do, we wrote grants to take our students to Disneyland, we wrote grants to take them to Universal Studios, but all because we wanted our students to have an opportunity outside of this amazing community. We connected with organizations like Chamber of Commerce, we had our faith, we're so close to Our Lady of Guadalupe Church, so it was kind of a blessing to have such a wonderful resource in our backyard that would come and support our students, and it was awesome. So how did Barbara Webster shape who I am today? Well, I grew up across the street with my brother, my cousins, all my friends, my compa Leo. We had a wonderful time growing up in this amazing community. We, again, coming to school here, we were athletic. We participated in a lot of the activities, like the book clubs and whatnot. And again, we just had a great time. So a little funny thing about me is my tia was the office manager, my tia Ana. My tia Marta, my tia Rosa were all going to school to become teachers and working on their own education. My grandma on my mom's side, my grandma mom was an IA here at Barbara Webster. So you talk about not having that opportunity to make a mistake, we didn't, because news traveled fast in this small community. But that was awesome, because that's exactly what we needed as little kids growing up and being little traviesos. They shaped us, they kept us in line. Fast forward, that's kind of why I wanted to become an outreach worker working with kids, and it's through that I wanted to inspire families and students to do what we do. One of my favorite memories was years ago, we had a science teacher here, Mr. Lang, here at Barbara Webster School. We were a science and technology magnet, and Mr. Lang just had this great idea of saying, hey, let's have a haunted house here. So we put our heads together, several of the staff members, Mr. Sandoval, Mr. and Mrs. Trujillo, myself, and so many others, Mr. Wilson, and we put our heads together and we made a haunted house. Well, through that haunted house became a legend here at Barbara Webster, was the legend of Jimmy. So the story goes with Jimmy, and this is the truth, what happened to me. When I was in 4th grade, Mr. Bazacha told us that a boy was put in the basement for timeout. They left him over the weekend, and when they came back, they didn't find him, but over the years, they would hear evidence and they would find things that Jimmy was around. So I took that from the early 80s, fast forwarded into the 90s, we created a haunted house, and that story was told jokingly amongst colleagues, and then it just exploded. So yes, that it was true. Jimmy was a legend. I don't believe it's true, but Jimmy was a legend here at Barbara Webster School, and and it's funny because now that I'm 53 years old, that I've been doing this for 30 some years, I still have family members telling me, hey Frutos, do you remember Jimmy? And all I could do is laugh about it, because it was an honest, it was an innocent story. I'm sure that was told to me so that I would behave. And then I told the story probably once to a group of kids, and it just exploded, and then it happened to become our centerpiece for the haunted houses that we were doing here at Barbara Webster for, I would say, about 10 years. And they were well run. We would have the community come out, and it was a great fundraiser for our parent organization.
Well, my name is Sue McAllister. Back then I was Sue Pointer. I started going to school here in 1959 for 3rd grade and on through 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th before we went to Isbell. And my favorite memory, I'm not sure if I have just one. That's a hard one. I had some wonderful friends who I still have. I'm still in contact with a lot of people that I grew up with, and that's been a huge blessing. We all kind of had stay-at-home moms. We all walked to school together, stopped at Mitch's Market for candy on the way home. It was just a great time to be growing up. Oh, I enjoyed all of my teachers. Mrs. King was my 5th grade teacher, and she was very encouraging and nice, but I really enjoyed all of them. Mrs. Locken was very special. We did lots of nice history projects in there, which I loved. So they were all great. Oh yes, I have, going through my pictures, I was like, oh my goodness, we're all still friends. We still get together. We have girls' lunches, and we do girls' trips once in a while. There's a lot of them. Well, we did field trips. Did one to the Santa Barbara Mission, which I remember the best because I took photos of that with my new camera. We had father-daughter dances periodically. I believe it was through the Bluebird group, but we had them here, so that's kind of a memory for here. and that was really fun. We did a polka night once. I remember that one really well. And it was just special to have our dads, and we'd get all dressed up and come. That was really fun. Well, one thing that's a very vivid memory of being here, and I don't remember what year it was, probably in the early, maybe 1962, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. And the city had a siren that they would turn on, and we would have to do drills practicing walking home in case there was an attack. And it was terrifying. I would cry all the way home and just think that this is it. But that's a very vivid memory. So there's one other memory that is unusual for today's school. We had a Bible study. A lady, Mrs. Chillicote, would drive her bus over here, and we would go out and get in the bus and have Bible study. Not all the kids did it, of course. You know, our parents would have to give permission, but that was really special. She seemed quite old. She probably wasn't as old as I thought, but she was very sweet, and that was just something kind of special. One fun thing that we would do at recess was sit out under the big oak tree and pull the little clover flowers off with a stem and tie them all together and make big necklaces, and we would all wear them all day long.
Hi, my name is Oscar Hernandez. I'm the owner of Tacos El Torazo in Santa Paula. I attended Barbara Webster K-5. One of my favorite memories from being here at Barbara Webster was playing with other students, playing soccer, and also attending field day. Field day was something we always looked forward to because we used to compete. We used to get ribbons for first, second, third place, and always made us compete more. I love that. Teachers that inspired me and made me realize I was good at something was Mr. Munoz. He made me realize I was pretty good at math, and so did Mrs. Tancredo, I believe, yes. Yes, they made me realize I was pretty good at math. And they used to give me the awards for math. Friendships that I made here at Barbara Webster, I used to have a lot of friends. Raul Robles, I used to have Lalo, Victor Avalos, Albert Vasquez, Albert Dominguez, Andy Delgado. No, there's so many friends, all good people too. Barbara Webster has shaped me into the man I am right now by challenging us. I remember we used to have the winter performance. We used to sing in front of a large crowd. So even though we were nervous, they gave us the courage to do it and perform in front of everybody. And now it makes it easier for us.
So some of my favorite memories at Barbara Webster, I have many, but I have to say that my favorite memories were going to Magic Mountain, Six Flags Magic Mountain with our 5th and 6th grade classes. That was the memories that we created there were just amazing, unforgettable. We look forward to that, especially the fact that we got to go 2 years. And also our field trips. We also got to go to Skating Plus. That was a lot of fun. So I would have to say my favorite memories here at Webster were our field trips, and I had many, many others. Memories. Another memory that I had here was listening to the Dodgers win the World Series in 1980 when Fernando Valenzuela was pitching for the LA Dodgers, and we got to hear that on the radio. So I remember watching that here. I believe it was my 5th grade class. So those were some of my favorite memories here at Barbara Webster. A teacher that inspired me and many other students, that would be Miss Angela Borrego Chavez. Many of you now know her as Miss ABC, but she was our favorite teacher to many students, myself and many of my close friends and all her students. She had to have been one of the most amazing teachers we had. She is actually the teacher that took us on these field trips. It was only her class that got to go to Magic Mountain. So it was amazing. This teacher inspired me to also become a teacher because of her and her teaching style and her relationship with her students. I wanted to be a teacher, which I have achieved and have done proudly so here at Barbara Webster for this is my 29th year teaching here. So Mrs. Angela Borrego Chavez, thank you for all your dedication, commitment, and love you've given to this community and to the students here at Barbara Webster. Friendships that were made at Barbara Webster, my goodness, the people that I went to school with here, they're not friends, they're brothers, they're sisters, many of them. Some names: Ramon Castillo, Eddie Chavez, Arturo Valdez, all these people, we grew up together, Marco Sanchez, and we still see each other, and when we see each other we light up because we're more than friends. With the memories that were created here at Barbara Webster, we're brothers, you know, these people are, consider them family. So yes, many friendships were made here at Barbara Webster. The way Webster shaped me, I believe Webster helped me to appreciate what community really is. And so I was born here in Santa Paula and attended Santa Paula schools, and just the closeness, the relationships that were created here, it taught me the value of what community is in the classroom with the friends, the activities that were going on here. How did it shape me? It made me not ever want to leave Santa Paula. I will spend the rest of my days here. That's how Barbara Webster shaped me. Some of the special events that I remember from here from Webster was the carnival that we used to have every year. And you know, they had, just like when you go to a fair downtown, we had the same. The teachers put that up with all the boards, the decorations. So we did a lot of work, did a lot of artwork to put that together. The students were the ones that were running the stations, and money was charged. The whole purpose was for fundraising for our field trips, which I mentioned. Some of these field trips were, you know, our field trips to Magic Mountain, to the skating rink. And so just being there, I remember Mr. Cadman, he would toss a ball into the, you know, water containers, and if you made that little ball in the container, you got some goldfish. So at these carnivals, you saw kids walking around with their little bags of goldfish, or real goldfish, not the ones that you eat. And also you had, you know, the Frito boats and the ice cream, people getting their faces painted. And we look forward to that carnival that was put together by parents, students, and teachers. Another tradition that was held here by Miss Borrego was her amazing drill team. And so, you know, seeing the participants, you know, come to their practice, and the parades, and seeing them win their trophies, and seeing the girls work on their marching and other drills that they did. That was amazing, seeing them work together as a team, how they formed together as a unit. Those were fun memories for us. Having been a student here back in 1979 to about 1981, 82, and having taught here now for this is my 29th year, what I could share with students today is to really, really, really enjoy being young, because it's a one-way road. You cannot hit reverse, and it's to me that time here at Barbara Webster, that time of innocence and just not having that much responsibility or worry, just enjoying friends and just enjoying life. To me, it was the best time, the best age of my life. So I remind my students, you know, enjoy your youth. It won't last long. So my advice to my students every year is enjoy the elementary school years. They are the best.
Hello, my name is Carlos Juarez, and I am a nearly lifelong resident of Santa Paula, arriving here when I was 1 year old, and I came and attended Barbara Webster School for the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Just like many of my classmates that have followed the same track, we came from Grace Still School or the nearby schools into Barbara Webster. And many of my friends went to classrooms with one teacher. When I came to Barbara Webster, I was going to be placed into what was known as Complex 1. There was Complex 1 and Complex 2, and what this were classrooms that were, they might have been an experiment of putting 4th, 5th, and 6th graders in the same class. And so for my 4th and 5th grade years, I was with older kids. And unfortunately, it led to some of the older kids that I didn't know kind of picking on some of the younger students. And so when I finally went to 6th grade down the hall at Mr. Berg's class, I strived to not be like they were, and I treated the younger students that were 4th and 5th graders, and I was a 6th grader, with kind of the concept of treat them the way you want to be treated, and I did not do the same thing. I didn't bully or pick on anybody younger than me. When I was in 4th grade, we used to have, I think it was on Fridays, they would show movies, and then there was some downtime, and I remember Claudia Baldwin was one of my teachers who would sit me aside and help me read. And she would sit there and I would read, but she would help me with the words that were challenging. And it really taught me an appreciation of books and learning something that you're a little apprehensive. And I don't read as many books as I used to, but I remember in the formative years, I did read a lot of books, and it was because of Claudia Baldwin. In reviewing some of my history of the schools in Santa Paula, one of my friends that is my friend to this day, we went to kindergarten together at Miss Marianne Tothero's class at McKevitt School, and we're still friends to this day. And just like that, each time you attend a different grade, you meet with different classmates. And I have had many throughout the years, especially in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, where many of us had to, get together and become friends for safety reasons, not because anybody was, picking on us to that extent, but you really develop a friendship when you're with a bunch of kids your age and there's other people around you that are older than you. And I can tell you that many of those males and females, we've remained friends to this day. Growing up and attending Barbara Webster School in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, sometimes as a new student coming into a school, you pal around and there's safety in numbers, hanging around with the people in your same age group. But then later on, there are challenges with others that may want to pick a fight with you. And I unfortunately got into quite a few fights here at Barbara Webster School. So I was not getting in trouble a lot, but I got in trouble. And when I was in 6th grade, I finally realized that now I'm a 6th grader, I don't have to pick fights with the younger students, right? It might be somebody that's my same age. But one day when I was in Mr. Berg's class, I was told to go to the office. And I was a little apprehensive because, as I just mentioned, I used to get in trouble. And when I walked into the office, I remember the principal telling me that I had been recommended for a volunteer position by my teachers. And the volunteer position was to, every day at about 11:15, to leave classroom, because I probably was caught up with some of the schoolwork, go to the cafeteria, and they would give me a rolling cart, and I would put many meals in there, and I would transport them down to the cerebral palsy school. And so I did that, and they said, when you do that, what's going to happen is you'll get free lunch. And I said, well, I get free lunch anyway because I get the meal tickets. But they said, but in addition to that, once you deliver the meals, then you get to eat first and you get to play first before everyone else. And I thought, well, that's an incentive. So I would roll the cart down, and of course here on the east side of this wing, there's windows. And many of my students that were in my same grade would make fun of me because I was taking meals to handicapped children. And but I did it regardless. And then when I was down there, I remember a few times talking and playing with the kids that were down there. And then I would, come back up and I would eat lunch with everybody. And I would tell them, I said, I get to eat before you. I get to go out and play before you. And sometimes they even give me extra cookies before you, right? But one thing that it did teach me, and I believe that was the first time that I actually engaged in volunteerism. And that's giving back to your community. And it doesn't seem like a big deal at the time, but growing up, and I was a police officer for a long time, and now I'm involved in a few service clubs. And in Rotary, it's service above self. And I honestly believe that instance at Barbara Webster School in 6th grade taught me about being a volunteer and the value of it, not only to you, but to the community. When our schools were designed and built decades ago, they were probably top quality schools. And over time, some of our schools have decayed in appearance or even in the materials that they have. And I'm just very thankful that through some bond measures, like I had mentioned earlier, that I was on the Measure P&Q committee that helped to, it was a bond that helps to fund the elementary schools and the high school. Now they're unified. but those that measure P and Q still exist with funding for the schools. And coming back into the school and seeing what they've done with this wing when it was back in 73 to 75 when I was here, it was called Complex 1 and Complex 2, and it was just basically classrooms. Now you have a wellness center, you got a library. It's just great to see the strides that our unified school district has done to improve the schools. I mean, I think one of the main things they did here years ago was putting air conditioning, because when they have heat days, they have to send the kids home, and that's unfortunate for the kids that have to lose out on education. So I'm glad that our school system and our board on the Unified School District and our superintendent and everybody else is really supportive of making the classrooms where they should be in this day and age to make it comfortable and safe for our students.